What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Game Day Squad show for round 8. Proudly brought to you by the Game Day Society and AFL Fantasy Fanatics. I'm Mark. I'm joined by Bales once again. Bales, how you going?
Yeah, not too bad. Pretty much just been focusing on Christian Petrarca all week, but
Oh yeah,
other than that, not too bad. But yeah, I've got another AFLW round to get into, and we've only got 5 weeks left, so looking
yeah, I
forward to it.
know. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. Hey,
Yeah,
now
exactly.
we've got a lot to cover this episode because obviously we've both been doing pretty well through the season. We've made a lot of tricky calls, but how have you been going the last couple of weeks in terms of your actual AFLW side?
Yeah, not too bad. So what did we do last week? I think it was like 19th in the starter. I think Classic was a better week, a better week. Fourth for the week, which was nice. And then was it Challenger 19th, and then Champion. What do we do in Champion? Um, 17th. So like all in all, top 20 weeks across the board is not too bad. A couple of packs as well. Nothing huge from those packs, but I think the most important thing is still. I don't know. I think I had top spot last week in Classic. If not, I took it this week. So currently top spot there. But you overtook me in starter. So I did have a top spot,
Yeah,
but I lost a top spot at the same time. But I'd rather
that's right.
have number one for Classic, I think, at the moment, mate. But how about yourself? Obviously, I just mentioned a bit there, but I know Champion's the
Yeah.
one that you like a little bit.
Well, I like champion, but I'm actually doing a lot better in the starter comps because one starter last week, which was great considering I wasn't really expecting that with my the side I put in. I was kind of just focusing on my champion side, and then all of a sudden at the end of the round, I was like, oh, I won, so that was good. I think it just made a couple of lucky calls, especially with the Melbourne defenders, that kind of thing. So I'm actually sitting on top of starter as well overall, which is nice with a little bit of a buffer. Classic had well, I mean, still a great week. Came 13th, but it means I've kind of dropped out of that 1-2, um, race that you guys are in. Challenger 26, which is kind of my almost throwaway squad where I just chuck the rest of my cards in. And champion, I was 6th, which puts me at 8th overall. So pretty happy. Yeah, but looking forward to kind of making some tough decisions now to try and get back up those leaderboards on the champion and other comps. So
Exactly.
let's jump into it. So starting off, oh gosh, is that slide terrible on your end as well?
Yeah, it's the writings in blue, which not it's
Yeah,
white.
no, I know. I think it's. Give me a second. I'll see if I can fix this midstream under pressure because something's obviously gone amiss here.
all I
But
can see
maybe.
is all I can see is review odds. I think it's defense or something in a bad, good for ruck, and then first picked.
Well, why don't you tell us all about your kind of takes for round 7, and then we'll see if I can get this fixed while you're talking, eh?
Yeah, well, on the spot, here we go. Takes mine just off the top of the dome. I think the big takeaway is anyone that was thinking that Noffy wasn't the number one mid. She's taken that mantle back. She's now the number one averaging player in game day squad. I think it's the first time now she's the number one player. I think with Riddell having a little bit of a tougher week this past week and Noffy having a big score, she went to number one, and Laura Gardner, who went absolutely astronomical, ended up going number two. So Riddell went from number one to number three in a week. So I think the top five, I think, are very set in stone with those five. I think it's Marinoff, Gardner, Riddell, Bowers, and Garner. Not in order, just they're the five there. I think they're the five that clear there. So I think that's probably one takeaway. Another takeaway, I think Lucy Wales has probably got the number one ruck spot now. I think she's taken that
Yep.
mantle, and this game this week probably determines it because Hawthorn play Fremantle, so Mim Strong up against Lucy Wales. I feel like that the player that can come out with the good score this week probably takes the number one ruck spot. And Lucy Wales is currently probably number one. She's probably taken it, but Mim Strong's got a chance to take it back. So that'll be a big matchup
Mm-hmm.
coming up this week. And I think the other one for me was Maeve Chaplin is was someone I think we talked about probably a month ago about as a good option for us to be looking at. But I think that the last 3-4 games that she's played, I think she's elevated herself into those top 3 or 4 defenders. So I think she's pretty much a lineup lock now, and she's got some good matchups there as well. And just while I'm talking about defenders, Maddie Gay listed as a test this week, so that could be a very valuable defender to have back, and someone that maybe you don't play this week if she's back, but if we see a good score straight up, then straight back into our game day squads, I think.
Yeah, beautiful. I think I've got the slides fixed now, so apologies for all the technical issues, but we'll power through. My takes for round 7 are the North mids aren't gods. Like, we kind of had them sitting. So they are capable of having average scores. The relevance of that is probably nothing because everyone's going to be playing them anyway, but just something to keep in mind that maybe we can look at them as potentially, if you're needing to make up some ground towards the end of the season, you might be able to kind of drop them as a pod. Chaplin moves to the Melbourne defender of choice over Heath, for me anyway, just because Heath has let me down a few too many times now. In the same kind of sense, Zanker, I think, is just untouchable in that forward line. Had a great start to the season, but the role change seems to just be, killing any potential there fantasy-wise. Geelong ruck matchup is something that I think I'm just going to be trying to target as many weeks as I can, as long as there's, some semi-decent ruck option to pick. And the last one is just Wardlaw has just been consistently solid. And with a few forwards, which I know we'll probably talk about a little bit later, kind of being a bit underwhelming the last few rounds, I think Wardlaw needs to kind of jump into, ahead of some of those forwards in consideration.
Well, I've had her for a number of weeks, so I'm happy to hear that. The only thing I would say about Jessie Wardlaw is that great score on the weekend. She did have a monster last quarter. She was on, would have been 40 game day scored points at 3/4 time. So I think she's still someone that, if there's a tough matchup, I'll probably look at other options. But she's someone that I think for at least for the next couple of weeks she's still got some good matchups coming. I think she's still someone that's going to be firmly in my game day squad.
Yeah, beautiful. So we'll jump through to the game by game matchups. Just a heads up, we're doing the giveaway again. We're doing it slightly different, where we will still open some packs on stream, but hopefully I'll do it in a way where we'll actually be able to give away some better content compared to last week, because that was a bit disappointing.
Those packs last week, if anyone watched last week, that was horrific. It was, I think, Harriet Cordner out of the 3 packs, the 9 players we got, Harriet Cordner was the only one that we got. I think it was a gold or a silver or something. So it wasn't even like a high rarity, but
something like that. Yeah. But so all you need to do is get involved in the chat again. We'll be looking at your questions, answering them when we can. And once we finish going through all of the fixtures, we'll cut off the entry, and then at the end we'll spin the wheel and we'll open some packs. So jumping straight into game 1, we have the ruck matchup that you were hinting at earlier. Hawthorn versus Fremantle, Wales versus Strom. Just before we get into it too much, just off the top, who are you backing in the ruck contest here?
Oh, geez. It's a tricky one. Form says Lucy Wales, but I don't know if it's sort of stubbornness. I just think Mimstrom's still going to, it's part of me is like, well, is Mimstrom going to put up a big performance and sort of come back to the number 1 rucks? What was she dealing with, like a niggle or something? Like her hit-outs are down from last year. She had a great start last week. I think her first quarter was really good. I think she was mid-40s game day squad about quarter time. But after that, she went pretty quiet. So I'll probably say Lucy Wales, just because there's no reason to not say her, because she's dominating at the moment. She's taken that leap into the real elite rucks this year. And because she was a very good ruck already last year, but she went from probably anywhere from 3 to 7 to now top 2 and probably number 1 at the moment. So yeah, I'll say Lucy Wales, but I'm probably going to play both in my game day squad, to be honest. I don't love playing rucks up against each other. I like to go, I want this ruck to play well, and the other one to not as much. But I think they're probably the two we're playing, just with more for
Yeah.
injury. I think Schultz is up against Alex Edmonds, and I'd love that matchup for her. So I think that I'm probably looking at them this week.
Yeah.
What about you? Are you Lucy
I
Wales?
I think I'm Lucy Wales purely for that kind of ceiling score. I think that Strom's been consistent with an incredible floor, but I feel like looking at her numbers, so she's only gone above 113 once this season and above 110 twice. So
She doesn't have the 4 quarters of dominating, whereas Lucy Wales has done that a couple of times this year. Like
yeah,
Strom will have a big quarter, then she'll have a couple of quarters where she's not great, and then she'll have a quarter where she's like decent. Like it's sort of a bit of a roller coaster throughout the whole game, but she'll just pump out like a solid score. So just wait for that 3-4 quarter effort where she puts up a 130, 140. But
yeah. In saying that, her lowest score this season is 92. So you know what you're going to get with her. So that's should be a good enough stat to just pick her every week.
yeah,
But
it's just she's probably not number one now. I think Wales.
Yeah. So in terms of anyone else at Hawthorn, like I kind of like the forward matchups here. And I've actually got one in my pod later on, which I don't know, probably if you're looking at the matchups might not actually be a pod. But I kind of need to talk about it now. McDonough.
Yeah, I was going to say she's someone that pretty keen on. The 2 games that Aileen Gilroy's been back, she's gone really well. She's not currently in my squad, but I did put my squad fairly quickly together. I haven't really had time just yet this week to real knuckle down and put the squad together. But she's someone that, like, I've got Ham and Malloy sitting in the squad at the moment, right? And they both got North Melbourne, which we'll talk about that later. But I'm a bit nervous about that one. So McDonough could come in for one of those two. So
Nah. Anyone else in Hawthorn? I mean, obviously Lucas, right? Every week.
TLR, her really good run starts now. Like she's, like they've been great. The whole season. But their run for the next month is incredible. So they're going to be locked in already, and they were already locked in regardless. But in terms of Freo, I think Kiara Bowles is back in a big way. She's probably back to a sense of she's probably the number 2 mid, I'd say. I know that Free Kick did their rolling their Sweet 16, and they had Bowles at 2, and probably agree the way Bowles has gone last month. She's been back to her very best, and I think she's one of those players now. Classic, you put a platinum in there or a gold, whatever high rarity you got, champion, challenger, you put as much salary on as possible. I think she's one of those players that you just have to have.
Yeah, like the last 3 games, 149, 184, 152. Like that's perfect, really.
Yeah. And if people remember, she was the best player in AFLW fantasy just before Noffy. Like Noffy was still top 5, like there she was solid, but not Bowles was number 1. And then obviously Bowles had a few injuries, obviously pregnancy last year, and Noffy's just been like incredible. I think I saw a stat from Jaden the other day. Noffy's scored the most points in the first 100 games or whatever, and that's for both men's and women's. She's like 300 points clear of Tom Mitchell, which is rarefied air, so just shows how good she is. But yeah, Bowles lock. If you want to go for a pod, Gab Newton has been really good, and Hawthorn give up some points for mids, some big scores as well. Ash McCarthy, we know has got a ceiling on her day, so if you want to go for a bit of a unique in your midfield, one of those two. Emma O'Driscoll's in some good form. Last couple of weeks, she could go there. Hawthorn, decent defender matchup. So, but yeah, I think a lot of the locks here, and you've got a few pods to look at.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's a good one to get started, hey? I think it's going to be a decent one to watch.
Yeah, exactly. And the last few weeks first game has been not as fantasy relevant, so it's good to have one that's fantasy relevant from the get-go.
Yeah. So, next game, Melbourne Essendon. So, talked about Gay returning. Do you think it's like, is there any room to be playing her to hopefully kind of pick up on a big game early, or do you think it's just a watch and wait for a little bit still?
Actually, I think you can play her if she's back this week. I think you can. Just because she'll take the kick-ins, she'll dominate all the ball back there, and we know that when she's playing, she's a number 1 defender. We saw it last year. I think she scored a 150 or 160 last year, which no defenders really got near that for a fair while, and she just dominated. So I think she definitely can be played. The worry is obviously long-term injury, not sure. So I've considered it if she's named. I've definitely looked at it, but I think I'll probably, because the defence, the line is like, we got names like T. Lucas Ride, Neve McLaughlin, Serene Watson, Maeve Chaplin, Emma Carney, Charlie Thomas, Sarah Goodwin.
Not a lot of space.
It's not a lot of space, but I could easily see Maddie Gay coming in for one or two of those defenders. There's a couple there that we'll talk about that I could easily see putting in. So it's something I've thought about, and the more I'm thinking about it, the more I'm like, oh yeah, I want to put Maddie Gay in the team. But something to consider for sure.
Yeah, and now with Melbourne, previously there's been a lot of players to, I guess, consider from that lineup through the midfield, forward, and defence, basically everyone apart from Rux. A lot of those, like the forwards, I think have kind of dropped off now out of consideration for me in particular. But the defenders, are you still hot on Heath, or do you think it's maybe?
I'm calling on Heath a bit just because that the role it's not as locked into that midfield as what it was early days. There's a lot of other players running through there. Like even Maeve Chaplin's getting some CBAs now, which is interesting. I think she's much better as a defender and a very, very good defender. And like Fitzsimon's playing a bit more up the ground as well. I've got other players running through there, so I don't think Heath is as locked in to this role. So I don't love that uncertainty there. I still think Zanker and Harris are playable, particularly with the two Sydney girls playing against North this week. There's some trickier matchups as well where it's 50-50. But agreed, I think that they're not like, oh yeah, play them. They've got a great matchup. They've got to be in your lineup. They're more like, they've got a good matchup, but you can consider them. But they've got a low floor. So that's the concern there. But I want to ask you about, so the red matchup there for forwards against Melbourne. But I've got Bonnie Toogood sitting in my lineup regardless because she looks not back to a 105 averaging ways of 2 years ago, but she looks to a point where she's very good regardless of match. Like she scored, was it high 90s, or I don't know if she got a ton last week against North Melbourne. She hit 3 behind.
97, yeah.
Yeah, 97. And then there was that 5-minute review at the start of the game where she did kick a goal, but then got overturned when it got touched by Emma Carney's pinky. But I think Bonnie Toogood is in one of those forwards. I think it's jumped into the top 5 or 6.
Yeah, like a fixture-proof kind of forward there, yeah.
Yeah, because you know what you're going to get. She's pretty solid. The only low score she had was against Jerry West when she, I think she went off for a HIA and came back on. She was finding low time on ground, but she's playing like 90% TOG every week.
Yeah.
She's going into defence if they're under a bit of pressure, which Melbourne, you certainly think that could happen. And if Essendon are going well, then she's going to kick a couple of goals. Obviously inaccurate last week, but yeah, I think she's a very good option.
Yeah, apart from that one game, like you mentioned, she's lowest score is 85. So that's like...
It's a bit like the Mimstrom in the forward line. Like, you know what you're going to get from Bonnie Toogood. What about Georgian Anscorn? She's someone that's also sitting in my lineup this week.
Really?
I think she might have a good game this week against Melbourne.
Yeah, I'm a little bit off just because of the run of games, the last 3 games, 101, 111, 117. So
she hasn't gone under 100 though. That's what I do like that. So she's got a really high floor. I think she'll go to Kate Hall this week. I think that'll be a little bit of like a stoppage sort of matchup, not a tag or anything like that, but just to keep an eye on Kate Hall. So I think that could be beneficial to her. And I think if like North Melbourne, if you look at the matchups, right? So Essendon, they've had some tricky matchups last week. So they had North last week where she still put up over 100. Freo where they got absolutely belted there. And then they had the Saints where they got belted as well. So maybe that's just the theme of they're just going to get beaten a lot. But then they look good last week. Maddie Gay back in. Maybe they get a bit of a bounce.
Yeah.
So, but it's an interesting one.
And what about Steph Wales? So, talked a lot about her sister.
I don't love the matchup there against Melbourne. She's an option. I just think, though, that Strom, we know what we're going to get. And Lucy Wales is number 1. So I think I'd probably play a sister at the moment. So I've got a Wales in my team. But yeah, and that's a good apart from a bit from Corey there as well. Toogood did go into the defence in the second quarter. So that's what she was doing a couple of years ago when she was number one averaging forward. So I think she's doing that. I think she's got to be firmly in your calculations, if not locked in.
Yep, no, 100%. And what about that's mainly it, I think, for that game. Chaplin scored incredibly well last week. If you went Heath over her, you'd be kicking yourself, which I think a lot of people probably did.
Yeah. I think Kate Hawley can still play as well. I think she's still an option in the midfield. There, I said obviously Jean Anscombe will go to her sometimes at stoppages and that, not as a tag, just as a matchup. But we know Kate Hall, she plays huge game time in the midfield, goes up full, kicks a couple of goals. I think she's someone that you can definitely consider.
Yeah, and it's the kind of game where I can see her kicking like maybe 3 or 4 as well. So definitely a decent option. All right, we'll push forward. So I think it's GWS St Kilda. Yeah, GWS St Kilda. This game, I've got Richards on the slides just because I made them prior to the injury announcement.
Yeah, it's a shame because she was going really, really well and probably someone we're going to speak about tonight as someone that, put her in. She's been great role, but unfortunately with the pretty serious ankle injury, she's now out for the rest of the year, which is a shame because she was looking really good in there. But I think this game's got a lot of locks in it. I think Goldsworthy is a lock. I think Wardlaw is a lock in this matchup. I think Serene Watson is a lock. And you've got a couple of options like I don't mind a bit of a cheeky step. If you want to go pod in the ruck this week, I think Eilish O'Dowd could be that choice.
Yeah.
The matchup's there. She could win some extra hit outs. We know what she does around the ground. I had the choice between in my champions team this week to play Platinum Matilda Schultz or Diamond O'Dowd, and I've gone for Diamond O'Dowd this week for the matchup.
Yeah. So, I like that.
I think I'm doing that this week.
Numbers are there. It's just, What about that negative 7.7 to midfielders, which, Goldsworthy basically is a midfielder in terms of the role that they're playing. Does that worry you in terms of someone who's averaging about 100 and then dropping the 7 points? Or is Goldsworthy just locked?
I think she's just locked, but if you normally play, like, for example, in Classic, if you play Platinum instead, maybe you go to a gold or a silver this week. Maybe just in case there's the ceiling's not there. But the thing with Goldsworthy, right, it doesn't matter what matchup. She could just put out a 140, 150. Doesn't really matter. Like, she'll find a way. Like, her score was a couple of weeks ago when she had that monster score. So she obviously 124 last week. And by the way, if anyone hasn't updated the GameDay squad app, make sure you do, because we can now see scores that come up on the player. You don't even have to go into their stats. The score just comes up, which is brilliant. I remember talking to Tom about that a while, and Tom and Cal about that a while ago, and now it's been added in, and it's very, very good to see.
Game changer.
164 a couple weeks ago, like Goldsworthy, 31 touches, kicked a goal, 8 marks, 9 tackles. That's brilliant. Stat line, field. So I think she's a lock, but maybe you slide the salary down 1 or 2.
Yeah, I guess looking at the numbers, lowest score is 86 this season, which is for someone in your forward line. Even though they kind of are a midfielder, they're a forward line for all purposes for us. So I think that's a no-brainer. Just set and forget. Anyone else for St Kilda? I don't think so. Smith has been all right.
Yeah, she's been all right. I just think, again, she's probably just not at the level of the... good player, but in terms of fantasy level, I don't think she's quite at the top 6, top 5 enough. And it's probably not enough of a good matchup for me to go, she's a real consideration. Yeah.
What about some of those other GWS forwards? So the Evans and the Garnetts.
Well, Garnett put up a lower score last week, I think it was, and I've always felt that she could drop that score, so I'm a bit worried. Yeah. Evans could be an option against St Kilda.
Evans also had her lowest score of the season as well last week.
Didn't she get broken nose or got... Unless she had a lot of bandage around her face. So, could be an option. I've probably just got a few options ahead, I think, this week. But someone to consider for sure if you want to go for... Because I think the forward line's the one spot where there's not enough players that put up high floors every week. And they're the ones where the ceiling scores can pop. So the forward line is where you can get the real pods an advantage week on week.
Yeah, no, agreed. Now the next one is probably the game of the round. I'd say North Melbourne, Sydney. A lot of red on those tables, which is that's a bit of a. It's almost one of those games where you just kind of want to stay away, apart from those, obvious locks. I guess we have to talk about it.
So minus on every.
I think I've lost you, but is that something on me or you? May have lost you, Bales. Yeah, but as Baz was saying, a lot of red. I'm sure it's just reconnecting now. A lot of red on all of those stats, and we've got to. You there, Baz?
Yep, no idea what happened there. I was actually I was talking, and then it just said connection, and then he said, "Oops, I lost you." So no, I was saying that it's funny when you look at all the matchups. Because I zoomed in, I made sure correctly, but every matchup in this game is minus. So,
yeah,
which is interesting. And I think because you asked me the question, you thought, "Are you worried about this matchup for team?" I think both will. I think the minus will be offset with the fact that both are tough, that there'll be points scored. Just who are those players going to be, right? Like, who does Tanya Kennedy go to? I think she goes to Jazz Garner, but Riddell's been amazing form. She could go there. I don't know what your thoughts are on that, but
yeah,
I think we're still playing Gardner. We're still playing Garner, Riddell.
Yeah.
But then Malloy, Ham, Carney, they're probably three that are normally in the lineups that do we look at. So what are you thinking with players? Because I've got a lot of players in this game in my squad at the moment.
Yeah.
But
I've currently dropped, I think from memory, I've dropped two of those three you just mentioned. So I think I've dropped Carney this week just on the back of a lower score and a tougher matchup. And then I think I dropped Ham as well, just for the matchup and then better options elsewhere. In saying that, they may come back in because they're pretty consistent scorers for me. So the thing with this matchup is it's all negative, but that's because they've generally always come up against teams that they've been a lot better than. So it's harder for other teams to score against.
But if you look at even Marinoff again last week, I know she's the best in the comp, but she still scored well against Sydney. So I could still see a Garner going big, Riddell. So yeah, I think Garner, Riddell, definitely the two you're not fading. Gardner, I think after the game last week I think this was a game where I was thinking we're going to be chatting tonight about Gardner, could you fade for a week in this matchup? But I think after you score a 180, 190, you're not fading. So Malloy and Ham are the ones that, you could definitely look at fading with the matchup. Carney,
she actually went 205. So that's
205. There you go. Biggest score of the season, obviously. And first time in a long time I've seen a player go over 200, probably since Noffy last year. So rarefied air. Not many people get over 200 besides Noffy and then maybe Bowers before that. But I think Carney, I'm still happy to play in this match. I know the matchup's tricky, but North are so good. She'll take takes most of the kick-ins, but it's a tricky one. It's a really tough matchup to sort of look at. I think North are still going to win, but yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, I agree. And I think I saw it was Morfitt confirmed out, or is she
was listed as a test. I don't know if if there's any confirmation or anything yet. I know she was a test on the injury report, so I can have a look and see if there was any confirmation. But just while I remember as well, the teams for tomorrow night, Hawthorn and Free are in. So Hawthorn, Emily Everest, Ellie Simmons, and Daisy Flockhart coming in for a debut. Come in for Mackenzie Erdley, who's been managed. Emily Bates out injured, so that's a big out for Hawthorn. She's out for a little bit as well. And Sophie Butterworth's been dropped, and then just Dana East in for Orla Lally, who's out injured. So no real major fantasy implications there.
I think there's one way to look at it Oh, sorry.
I was going to say, is Laura Stone available as a forward in game day squad?
Great question.
Because she could be a cheeky forward to look at that you would assume gets that bump with Hipwell and Bates being out.
Yeah, okay. Just have a look. Yep, forward. So that could be a good option.
That could be something we talked about Anya McDonough. Laura Stone will go on my pod list, but she'd be in my pod list, Laura Stone this week. So, I'm just having a look here as well. Who was it? Sorry, we were saying about Ali Morpher. Yeah, it says test. So I guess we'll see if she plays or not.
Yeah, with that lineup, one thing we didn't talk about is that Hawthorn midfield is looking very tackleable now because it's looking very, I guess, inexperienced, which means that Bowers could absolutely dominate in there.
Oh yeah, well, we've got it. I think we've both got him. We've probably got the highest salary possible. Yeah, makes us even more confident. I think.
Yeah, agreed. We'll jump through to the next one here. And yeah, don't forget to get in the comments if you do want to get involved in the giveaways.
Bright green matchups there.
Yeah, I know. So I've changed the color system where if it's over 5, you get a green square around the outside. If it's over 10, I fill in the square because that's a big deal. And the thing is, though, that number is dropping down every week as Gold Coast get a little bit better. So obviously, Gold Coast were garbage at the start of the season. They've kind of reined it in a little bit.
Do have a few injuries though now from that last week, so that's a little bit of a concern that maybe Brisbane end up going quite well again. The one thing I want to start with Gold Coast though, and I'll ask you this: Neve McLaughlin, is this a matchup that you could fade for? Or do you think with Claudie Whitford's injury and the fact that McLaughlin will go into the midfield, that you think that she's probably still just fine enough anyway to play because she's going to have a pretty decent role still, even though it's a tough matchup? Because it's a better matchup for a midfielder than a defender.
Yeah, I think that's where my head's at the moment. I think McLaughlin's proven to be one of the better, more consistent, better scoring defenders in the comp. And then probably even more like security in that midfield time that she's getting. I think it's a positive more than a negative this week. What about you?
Yeah, I think so as well. I think she's in that midfield. I think I'm still set on her being there. I just thought, a bit of a trickier matchup. I'm a bit nervous there. She's probably only Gold Coast I'm looking at. I think Rowbottom, not the matchup you're looking at for as well. And she had that big game against the Crows, but she's still just been really like a 90s, low hundreds player for a lot of the year. So probably just not someone we're looking at this year, just at the moment. She had a couple injuries well to deal with, but Brisbane, I think there's a lot of I think Hodder, see there Mel in the chat saying Hodder's a solid choice, and like Corey saying Hodder's a lock. I think Hodder's a very good option this week.
What about Ali Anderson? I think you played her last week, didn't you?
Yes, I did. And I was very, very unhappy at quarter time, but she ended up going okay enough. Yeah. Probably still not as good as a G-Prez that I would have had there instead, but I'm slightly worried about the matchup because I think Lucy Singer will go to her and tag her, which I don't want. I don't want to tag
she's a taggable player. Yeah.
Yeah. So I could see this being a game where she just scores an 80. But again, she could easily go 120. Right? It's a great matchup. She doesn't get tagged, she'll go well. But I think
it's 120 enough though. Like I guess
probably not.
The options we have, go 120, you might still not be a pass score for the midfield this week.
Yeah, so I'm probably not in this matchup. I don't think, but they've got a couple of good matchups after this though. So I think she's someone to still keep on the radar, but not this week. What about Taylor Smith as a bit of a pod? She's in my pod list.
Yeah.
Matchup against Gold Coast is great. She's been good in games where they haven't been against, in teams where they've lost to.
Yeah.
I think they're going to play well. Matchup's great.
She's put up some good scores this season, but also had some bad scores. So it's definitely a pod pick. And I think just for me, I'm taking one Brisbane forward in, and it's going to be Hodder.
Yeah, I think I agree. Yeah. But if you want to go for a pod, you want to make up some ground, she's someone that could pop an 80, 90 plus score this week in a good matchup and be someone that maybe can bump you up the rankings.
Mm-hmm. And is just Conan faded from the thought process now, do you think?
She probably reminds me a bit of Charlie Thomas, to be fair.
Hmm.
Just that you know what you're going to get. I've got Charlie Thomas in my squad. I don't have Conan. I've got Conan in a challenger or champion lineup, one of the two. So she still ran the mark, but I think there are options that are ahead of her. So I'd probably go for those. But she's someone that if you don't have maybe a certain rarity of someone, or you don't have enough of those defenders, that she could be someone you look at.
Yeah, it's kind of almost like a pod pick now that's not that risky. So
yeah.
Yep. Nice. All right, we'll push ahead. I think we've got Port Adelaide and Bulldogs will be the next one. Yep. Now that ruck matchup against Port is, it's very disheartening,
Not good.
especially if you were considering playing Edmonds. Looking back the other way, it's actually not as bad as it probably would feel coming up against someone like Edmonds, where, one of the better, like, genuine rucks, I would say, in the competition. But does that, are you writing off Schultz as a select, for your consideration this week?
I'm not crossing her out. I'm not crossing out. I just like Lucy Wells and Strom this week. But again, she's shown that she can dominate matchups. Just don't think this is a matchup she's going to dominate, put up a massive ceiling score against Alice Edmonds. I can see the other rucks she can, but she could. I'm not going to say she won't, but this is probably not a matchup I want to really target. So probably not for me. We saw Piper Window back last week.
That's what I was about to ask you, I think.
So I was going to actually sort of intertwine her with Woodland, because it sort of seems like they're almost going to be swapping roles in a way that Woodland will play forward, Window in the mids, and it might go the other way. I almost want to fade both, just because I want to see it for another week, because I think with Window being there, Woodland's not got the consistently high floor like we saw last week, so lowest score of the season, and it coincided with Window being back in. But then Window, I just want to see it again before I look at her in my game day squad. What are your thoughts with the two of them?
Like that, it looked like Window kind of, just in terms of a number point of view, scored basically what Woodland had been scoring all season. And that was like the first, and then that was a week that Woodland or Saint in game day scored. That's a week that the first week they kind of dropped off pretty hard. So it worries me a lot. I have faded her at the moment, just because in terms of the risk of fading her, like, she hasn't put up any of those big ceiling scores. So I think there's very little risk in kind of not playing her, but she could put up like a 50, 60 pretty easily, which would be a bit of a round killer for me.
Yeah.
So she's gone for now.
Yeah, she's not in my squad at the moment either. I've got other options there this week. For the Dogs though, Ellie Blackburn was very, very good last week. I still think the role's still got a little bit of forward time in there, but the matchup's green. She's a great player. We know what she can do. Is it just too much of a pod for you?
Well, we'll wait till we get to the pod list, but
okay. Oh, there we go.
I think it's too much of a pod for me to play, if you put it that way, especially considering I'm kind of in contention in a lot of competitions. So it's a pretty risky call, especially for a midfielder, to be chasing those. What was it last week? Put on a good score of 146, but then, Noffy's been doing that every week. Bauer's been doing that every week. So, like, who are you dropping to bring in Blackburn?
Yeah, I think it's probably just too much of a pod. I guess maybe next year. Is she going to be a forward? Is she going to be a forward in game day squad? That's probably something to watch. But if she's going to play a lot of mids, mid time now for the rest of the year, probably not. But something to look at. But I feel like I don't like it. Besides maybe Blackburn as a sneaky pod, I don't like any other option.
No. And obviously, we've talked a fair bit about Georgia Stathis, but
she's off the radar.
That ship is gone. It's not. I don't think there's enough weeks for me to actually win back the favor of her. She's let me down too many weeks. I dropped her.
If she played in the mids this week, then she'd be back on the radar, but not at the moment.
Yeah, no, fair.
I like that. That was like an of like, even if she's mids, I'm gonna have to see it for like a couple of weeks before.
Yeah. The thing is, my concern is that she'll play mid for the last few rounds, play all right, and then she'll be a mid next year, and then
Yeah.
we'll just lose her completely.
Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I think we've kind of covered everyone in this game that's up for, I guess, consideration.
Yeah.
Cool. Jumping up now, Richmond, Adelaide. We had a question in the Discord earlier. Is Conti selectable this week?
Yes. I think
Yeah.
she hasn't had a great last fortnight. But St Kilda, a very tough matchup mids, as we saw a few matchups ago. Last week, she was up against Brisbane. Again, not a great matchup, but she was okay. But we've seen what Adelaide have given up to mids. We saw Laura Gardner go 206 last week. Trying to think who's the other mid that went really big recently against the Crows.
Was it Prosparkas? Georgie? No,
there was another mid that went pretty well. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head.
I'll be able to find that, I'm sure.
Yeah, but someone went really, really well recently as well. So it's like, I think they're giving up enough points where you can actually put up a decent score. So I think Conti's definitely playable for sure.
Rowbottom.
Rowbottom, that's the one. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. So Crows are, I think with Anne Hatchard playing a bit more forward, that's what's allowing these other mids to get a bit more in the mids. So yeah, there you go, Rowbottom. Yeah. So yeah. I think Conti definitely.
Yep.
But besides Conti, I think that's probably it.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anyone else. But on Adelaide's side is Noffy lock, as we always say. But is Sarah Goodwin come into your sort of? She's obviously been our cat for a couple of weeks now with the midfield time. But for me, I think she's, if this role sticks, she's in my squad for the rest of the year.
Yep, agreed. I think definitely she's kind of just jumped ahead of Emma Carney, I think, for me, just in terms of like the reliable defenders. So I'm picking her every week. Who else is there? Apart from that, maybe, Anne Hatchard, we've talked about her a few weeks, has been an up and down kind of player. That mid numbers looks pretty good.
This is a game where she can actually score quite well in, but the role was just, it's good for the Crows in terms of like their structure. They've still got someone as a target, but until Chelsea Randall and Caitlin Gould are back, which I know Chelsea Randall's dealing with still some concussion symptoms, so she's out again. So that's a little bit of a flag just on Chelsea Randall, just because that's a few weeks out now. Normally we see most players come back after a week, whereas this has been a few weeks, and this was delayed concussion, so it's a bit concerning as a Crows fan there. And Caitlin Gould's out for, you think, probably the rest of the regular season. I think this is going to be a thing with Anne Hatcher for the rest of the year, so I just think that I'm probably fading until I see something change there. I just want to get the CBAs up for the games. No, that's, of course, it's taking me to the AFL Crows CBAs. So I just want to get the CBAs because obviously Sarah Goodwin, the numbers obviously have gone up since the last 3 weeks. Sarah Goodwin's CBAs have been 73%, 94%, 93%. So she's gone in as the number 2 mid, equal number 1 mid, along with Noffy. It's Noffy 94 and 87 the last 2 weeks, 94 and 93 for Goodwin. And then you've got Danielle Ponter's sort of 44 and 73%. Then you've got like Hatchard a little bit, Brooke Boileau a little bit. I think Ewing's went in for 1 or 2 last week, Charlton 1 or 2 the week before. So I think Goodwin's firmly in the top 3 mids. And if we've got a midfielder that's scoring well like she is in defence, so it's a bit of a freebie, I think. So
yeah, 100%. Yeah, for sure. That's probably it though for that game.
Yep.
Jump up. Is it Carlton and Geelong? So
Geelong rocks against.
Yeah.
But are you picking Harrington or Jess Good though? Because I feel like they're almost just, they're both going to probably score 80s, but don't know if they're going to put up enough.
Yeah, and then an 80 turns into 100, which probably is the floor of a lot of the other options. So I currently do have Harrington in as my R2, which I think
Ooh,
is a pretty.
spicy.
I know that is my spot.
It's a good pick though. The
I don't know.
matchup's there.
I don't know why I do this. Like I won starter last week with a pretty, standard side. I kind of pushed ahead in the lead of standard. I should just be doing safe picks and let everyone else kind of make the risky picks. But I'm not. So
Oh, Brie Harrington still did have 50% CVAs last week, so it's not like she's like 20% ruck, 80% forward. Like she's still getting a lot of ruck time. So
yeah,
if she's gonna have half the game in the ruck, she's gonna score well.
yeah,
So
and
I
the
don't mind
hit
the pick.
outs are trending up, which is nice. So
I don't mind the pick.
I think if Wales and Strom weren't playing each other, that would just be the easy lock for the round.
Because they're played against each other.
Yeah, I'm just a little bit nervous. So I'm kind of jumping on. I think I've committed, and I'll cry to you next week about it, or maybe over the weekend.
Oh yeah, I'm sure
I'll
get a message over the weekend.
Yeah.
But like plus 21.16 points is a massive positive. So
yeah,
that's sure. But I felt this is a matchup where I'm unsure about a lot of players. Like John Carlton up again. I think they're very evenly matched. I think it reminds me a bit of the, probably not like even terms. I think North will win against Sydney, but it's like that matchup where it's like matchup for fantasy is quite even. This matchup, I feel the same. It's like Parry, Ashley Maloney, Georgie Prasparkas, Dana Finn, all these options that we're looking at. I'm going, they're good, but I'm also thinking, well, maybe they're not going to put up a massive score because it's not a great matchup either way. Is that how you're feeling with this matchup?
Yeah, I like the two Geelong forwards pretty consistent all year, but I think we'll see the squads because I made them a little bit ago, but I think I've dropped both of them.
If you go one, I think it's Maloney.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think I've look. This is probably going to be a surprise when I look at my squad to who I actually picked. So,
because there's some good forward options this week, good matchups, good options. That's a tricky week. I think forward line was the toughest line for me this week to figure out and put in, and I'm still probably thinking about a few options as well. So,
yeah, same. Now, every week we talk about Finn, whether they're the real deal. Last week had a bit of a drop in the score, but still scored pretty well. Do you now say, like, similar to, I guess, like Nance Garwin, how they were doing really well for a big chunk and then kind of dropped back to maybe where we'd expect them to be? Do you think Finn's just doing that?
Oh, I feel like I don't want to commit to saying Finn's, yep, get her in, because the week I do that is when she will put up a bad score and people that have played her will go, thanks, Bales, why'd you have to say she's a good option? So I'm going to continue to say I don't really want to chuck a winger in there. But as Tom said on a show with me on Sunday, she's on Monday. She's Errol Gould reincarnated into the AFLW. Like, she's scoring so well as a winger that it's sort of redefining these like wingers and how they're scoring, right? So the matchup's not great, but she played North a couple weeks ago and scored really well. So she's probably matchup proof in a way. I couldn't put her above those five mids, and then it's like, are you going Gene Anscorn? Are you going Georgie Prasparkas, Mon Conti? These players that play full-time mid, stars of their team in the guts. And then you look at Dana Finn, who's, again, really blossoming into a star for Carlton, but she's a winger.
Yeah.
That's
I think, like, if we had 7 midfield slots to pick from, I think the squads would just be so different every week for everyone in that midfield because everyone kind of, you set your 4 or 5 or whatever each week. You have
or if you had to pick a winger, then she'd be the number one lock. So
yeah, true. But yeah, I agree. I don't see her coming in to the squad this season just because there's no space.
But we've got most people got 4 squads to play with, right? If they're in all the comps, or at least 3. Maybe you chuck Finn in one squad and go, I want Finn somewhere, just in case she does go big. Chuck her in a starter team or chuck her in a contender team or a challenger team or whatever one that maybe isn't your number one team, but maybe you go, I want Finn in my squad somewhere. Maybe that's how you do it.
Yeah. Like, I feel like you won't be disappointed. You just probably won't hit the optimal score. But anyway.
I like that from Silver Pigeon Winger. No thanks, lol. So no, and that's what I mean. That's what I'm thinking. I'm just like, Finn is going so well on a wing, but it just worries me that her playing on a wing, that there will be a game at some point where she just dropped. But then again, like we look at Garner and Riddell. We didn't expect them to drop low scores last week. So players will have a low game every now and again. But I guess wingers is just the high variance.
Yeah, and picking like a low game will kill you because not everyone's going to be picking Finn. So
yeah.
All right, we'll jump into, I think it's the last game of the round. Yeah, we've got West Coast and Collingwood. Now, got a couple of Collingwood players on the board there I'm keen to hear about. Barnett, I think it was a bit of a niggle, wasn't there?
Yeah, she's playing sore. I'm still playing her this week. This is a good matchup for Barnett against West Coast, and she's still available as a forward. Second half, Frederick took a lot more of the ruck. I think that was because Barnett was sore. Barnett wasn't listed on the injury reports. That's a positive sign, but we know the AFLW injury reporting at times can be a little bit interesting. I'm still backing in Barnett. Good matchup forward. She's been consistent all year. That was the only bad score for the year. It was against Alice Edmonds as well. So shows she's a bit of a trickier matchup, especially for someone like Barnett. So I'm backing her in. Geordie Allen was good, but I've seen this before. Like I've seen this last couple of years. I've seen good scores, and then she'll follow up with a 30. Like it'll ruin your week if your player is a pod, and this will like be a sour taste as the last game. West Coast aren't, and look at the match as well for West Coast defenders against them, right? So that for me is two boxes that are crossed off. So I think I'm probably not playing her this week. I do like Ella Robertson in this matchup. She's someone I'm considering a lot for that M6 spot. Got Nanscore on there, but what are your thoughts on Ella Roberts? Because this is a matchup where I don't think anyone from Collingwood can't see who would go with her. And being over in Perth, I think West Coast will win this game. And knowing when West Coast win, Ella Roberts scores well.
Yeah, I agree. I think Roberts is a great shout. I'm just too burnt from her. I picked her one game earlier in the season. She had 22 handballs out of 24 touches. So
I feel like maybe do you have to expand your horizons a little bit? Maybe if they burn you 3 times, maybe. Because Gardner burnt you once and you didn't play her and she put up a good score, but then you put her in and then she's scoring well. So maybe Roberts is a good option. But yeah, I think it's good this week.
Yep.
That's actually the next person I was going to ask you about, who still pigeoned about Benici. What are your thoughts on Benici? Low score last week, but Collingwood were bad, like very, very bad. I don't think they're that bad. I know they've got some injuries, but I think they'll be better. And when they are better, Benici scores well. Is Benici an option for you this week, but you maybe just got a few options ahead of her, or?
Yeah, 100%. And that's basically been the case all season, I think, for Benici. Like, again, probably will put up like a 130 type score, but I'm aiming for 140s. I don't know if it might be a bit cocky, but, you know, that there's so many players that can put up that 140, 150, 200 score that you don't want to be missing them. So,
and Roberts is the sort of player this week that could go big. So I prefer Roberts in this matchup over Benici. Charlie Thomas, I still think she's going to pop a big score at some point. Like, she's got everything going for her. She's got the kick-ins. She's a main distributor. I think Swanson being back there is probably cut into she's getting a lot of 80s and 90s, is probably cutting off those hundreds that she did last year. But I feel like there's a game at some point where she's going to go big, and it could be a game against Collingwood this week.
Just one player that's come up in the comments, which we forgot to talk about, is Cordner for Carlton.
She was in that. She was great last week, and she's probably one of the All-Australian defenders this week. This year. Again, she's a defender that could just pump out of 30 or 40. Like, she'll play well, but she'll put out a lower score. Like, I think she relies a lot on intercept marks and intercept possessions where it's probably not enough. Whereas like someone like Jenna Richardson, probably another one we didn't mention for Hawthorn, she gets a lot of ball chipping around the ground, even just from contests and that, not all intercept. Whereas Corden is a lot of intercept and not a lot of the sort of chip marking around the ground. So that's my worry. That's probably not why there. But G-Prez, yeah, definite option. She's probably just in the... She's like the Isaac Heaney of AFLW in terms of like she can break a game open and she's going to be the best player on the ground. But is that going to translate to a 140, 150? Probably not. Like last week, she was incredible against Hawthorn. She was the reason that Geelong like probably should have won the game. They obviously lost the game in the end, but she was best player on the ground, probably you'd say, and she scored 115 or something.
Yeah.
Something like that. So, yeah, good option. Do you have to play? No. Could you play? Yes.
Yep. I think that's fair. Chris Marcus is one that I played last week, and I thought I was off to a terrible start for the round because she looked like she was absolutely carving it up everywhere, and then that score wasn't ticking up, and I kept like refreshing because I thought there was something going on with the scores. And but yeah, I don't know what happened, but yeah, definitely
just doesn't get the marks. Like she just doesn't get the marks a lot, so that's the thing. And if she doesn't rack up the tackles, that's really gonna sort of just mean she just scores a lower 100.
Yeah, and she's probably one of those players that sits with like the Contis and that kind of sit just outside of those top 5, 6 where you're like having to, make a case to pick them every week. So for me, not this week, but definitely an option. So that's the round. So what we'll do now is we'll quickly run through our pods. Now I've put Hodder as number 1 pod, but now thinking about it, I don't think she's a pod. She's someone that we haven't kind of had as a lock every week, but she's someone you need to play, I think. And I more just put it here as a, public service announcement that play Hodder. After that, I've gone Harrington in the ruck against Geelong. I've gone her for now. I think just that Geelong matchup is really good. The averages are plus 20, but that's probably more because, the people who are playing against her are going from like 120 to 140 or like 100 to 120. So I think even though she averages 80, I still probably see her going that like almost up to 120 score. So that's what I'm kind of targeting. Number 3, I'll go on Blackburn. I think we've talked about all of these players in the thing. So that actually makes me feel good about my selections this week because previously I've picked people who have just been like, what's going on? But Blackburn, good, incredible last week. Good matchup. Just a little bit worried about that kind of forward time, but still definitely an option. McDonough is someone you can probably play pretty confidently in your forward line, I'd say, this week. Good matchup, pretty consistent. Seems to be a target for Hawthorn in all the games I've watched as well, which is nice. And then O'Driscoll in defence for Freo up against Hawthorn. Just had 2 pretty consistent games of, somewhere in the 80s. And then a good matchup now could see, that 100 type score. So thoughts?
Yeah, no, very good list. I would have had a few of those in my list as well. The only other 2 I guess I added was real pod forwards in Taylor Smith, obviously great match against Gold Coast, and then Laura Stone with Emily Bates being out as a forward could be a bit of a sneak shot. We know she can rack up the tackles when she's in the mids. I think she's been named on ball as well for Hawthorn tomorrow night. So, Laura Stone could be a sneaky pick.
Yeah, for sure. Got another question in the chat here. Thoughts on McCormack?
Yeah, probably another pod this week to consider. Saints, I think she's a decent enough matchup. I've got McCormack a couple of squads, I think, across the board this week. Maybe a challenger or champion or one of those 2. So she's not in my top 60 or top 7 in terms of like the defense I've currently got, but she's someone that I'm definitely considering.
Yeah, beautiful. So we'll jump into the squads. I'll go first. So I've made, I don't know, is this too small for people? I'll run through it. I've got Lucas Rod, McLaughlin, Watson, O'Driscoll, Thomas, Goodwin, Chaplin.
You did put O'Driscoll in there.
Yeah, I know. I've kind of backed a lot of my pods here, which is
It's going to make it. It's going to make or break you tomorrow night. No Strom, and then you got O'Driscoll in there, and you got McDonough in there. So it's going to see like tomorrow night will probably determine how your weekend's going to go. I reckon.
Yep. Midfield, I've gone the classic 5, we can call it now, and then my 6th pick is Conti, just because I quite like that Adelaide matchup where it kind of feels like they're focusing more on their own game, that they're not necessarily trying to shut down other games. So I think she'll do well in that. Ruck, I've gone for Wales over Strom, and then I've gone for Harrington or Moody in R2. But that's probably going to change when I kind of chicken out later on. I might try this kind of lineup maybe in one of my my challenger side, where it's kind of lower risk to play this kind of squad. Forward line, we've dropped Ham. I've kept Barnett. I've brought Wardlaw in, I've brought McDonough in, and I've got Hodder there. So I don't have any of the Geelong forwards. I don't have Ham. Yeah, thoughts?
That's good. I got a fair few of those players as well. Which I'm sure we'll check in a sec. But the team looks good.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to get your team in, so do you want to bring yours up on the screen?
I think.
Oh yeah, you sent it through. I just didn't get time to get it in. So.
All good.
Oh no, we lost you again. So maybe we'll just talk through your team. Oh, you there, Bales? I'll talk through Bales' team while he's sorting that out, because he did send it through to me. Let us know if we're just talking over the top of each other. But I think Bales might have dropped out again. So for Bales, he's gone basically the same defense as me, but he's gone for Carney over O'Driscoll. In the midfield, same midfield, but instead of Conti, he's gone Dan Scarwin. In the rucks we've talked about, he's gone Wales and Strom. And up forward at the moment, he has virtually the same forward line as me, which is surprising. But he's got Montana Ham in instead of McDonough. You there, Bales?
Yeah, bloody annoying. I don't know what's going on with the computer at the moment.
Oh,
no,
we're good.
You have got me?
I quickly just ran through your side. Yeah. I just talked through your side. It's surprisingly similar to mine now that we actually kind of weigh it up.
Yeah, and funny enough, like Conti's the one it's been her and Nanscorn and Ella Roberts have been the 3 that I've been thinking about from those 3. So I'm not sure where I'm going to go with that there. Yeah, forward line. I heard you just talking there. Like defense is fairly settled. I don't think I'm going to change much there. Maddie Gay's someone that if she's named, I'm going to be very, very interested to play her in. Maybe over a Emma Carney or a Charlie Thomas or a Neve McLaughlin if I want to go real pod there. Wow. But probably, and then forward line. Yeah, the Sydney forwards are probably the ones that like. Do I play them both this week, or do I play maybe Malloy and take Ham out as you've done and play another option? Like, there's a lot of good options in the forward line this week that I don't have. Like Woodland's still a decent enough option. Parry, Maloney, Window. I think the 2 Melbourne forwards in Harris and Zanka are still fine in matchups like this. So still on your McDonough's someone I'm keen on. So it's a couple of decisions I made, but teams mostly sort of, as I said, fairly similar, but a couple of changes. We're normally like 5 or so apart anyway. It's about
that. I thought that I had a pretty wacky side this week, so I was kind of expecting a lot more. But I think maybe my differences are a lot more potty than yours. You've gone for variations in a standard team, whereas I've kind of gone a bit more left wing. So
I think if you look at like TLR, McLaughlin, Watson, Thomas, and Chaplin are probably in a lot of teams, along with maybe Goodwin. Midfield, Riddell, Marinoff, Garner, Bowers, Gardner in pretty much everyone's team. It's just that last spot that's different. Wells, Strom are probably the two ones there. And then you got Goldsworthy, Malloy, Ham, even Barnett and Too Good are probably in that conversation. A lot of people have got them. It's probably the last couple. So it's probably like you got maybe one or two in each line, but it's probably about it at the moment.
Yeah. So, well, that basically wraps us up. So what we'll do, we'll spin the wheel. Mel's been kind enough to compile the list for us again, and
thank you, Mel. Appreciate it.
She has to jump off because she's on the NRL show this week. So after this, go jump over and give your support for Mel, who's been a real asset to our show. But let's share this screen. So a decent amount of entries this week, which is nice.
Beautiful.
So what we're going to do this week is going to open 2 9-player packs, and we're going to do a bit of like a Connect 4 style thing where, Bales, you get to pick either a row or a column to give to one of our viewers, and then we'll divide up the other 2 after that. So it should mean that we can actually give away some decent cards this week.
So it's pretty much, it's like keep, buy, sell, but it's 3 players instead of 1. So at least you got a little bit of, cool. So you got a tiny bit of a chance to get a player. So are we doing a column, or are we doing like you pick 3 players to keep, 3 players to give to a viewer, and 3 to sell?
Let's just do 3 to give, 3 to keep, just because we want to give away stuff. And last week was an absolute bust. So we've got 2 packs to open. First one will be going to
George.
I think George has been a previous winner.
What's he done, George?
And then the second pack.
Izzy, I think Izzy's also been
seems to win every week. So thanks again, Izzy, for the support. So we'll jump over to the packs. I'll get them open quickly. I'll let you give away the cards after we open it, just because. You're the expert.
Fanatic, I reckon. I'll keep it at that. Obviously, because keep it in the name.
Sweet. So that screen's all up for you, hey, Bales, you can see?
Yep.
All right, we'll open the first one.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Got a platinum at least in here.
Yeah, that animation means platinum, which is always nice in a common pack. So what I'll do, it doesn't really matter the formation because we're just giving away 3 cards. So Lynch, no, Cabalas, Ballard, Davison, Ronells, Mimstrom, gold. That's a hit right there.
Okay. So
I assume you're keeping that one for yourself.
Maybe.
Oh, and a platinum Bowers.
Ooh,
this is a great pack for someone, and Rankin. So,
righty. Well, who's
George?
This for George? Well, I'll keep all 9, George. No, no. So I've actually got 2 Hero Bowers platinums and a gold or 2 Strom. So you're in luck, George. So George, I'll give George Bowers, Strom, and who'd be probably the next one? Maybe Rankin's been okay this year. Maybe go Rankin if that's who you want, George. If they're the 3 you want to keep, I guess I'll keep Maddie Gearon, Katie Lynch, and the other platinum. Is that Richards? Is that what it says there?
Runnels.
Sorry, Runnels. He's very small for me.
Small.
So I'll keep Lynch, Gearon, and Runnels. I'll give George, Strom, Bowers, and Rankin, and then the others. I don't know what happens with the other 3. Maybe give them to George as well if he wants.
Yeah,
use it for the exchange.
Cool.
But it's funny. That's a great pack though, George, to get Bowers and Strom. Very, very handy players. Platinum Bowers is probably one of the top 5 cards you can have in the classic comp. So
Yeah,
nicely done.
Great. Very nice pack. All right, so I'll just take a screenshot of that so I remember. And then we'll open the second one. This one is for Izzy as well, who's a pretty consistent winner on the channel, but the wheel doesn't discriminate. No platinum, so
still 9 players might be able to get some good silvers and golds.
Exactly right. And as I've said many times, the silvers and golds are
I keep
as
saying
valuable.
I keep saying we. I'm not getting any of this. So you guys might get some good ones here.
Well, I mean, you get to keep some, so you could just keep all the good cards. So we've got Cox, Friend, Swanson.
Yep.
Handy card. Probably not as handy as the start of the season, but still not the worst. Hosking.
Not on a list at the moment. I think she retired. Emma
King. Birch.
So we're getting players that we know, but not players that are probably up. You're looking at putting your team at the moment.
Yeah. So
Dalton.
One last card. Sorry, to kind of redeem that first pack was very nice. Okay, this one's a bit of a. I mean, it's okay. It's just not. It's not last pack.
Yeah, well, you're probably saying Izzy probably gets what?
I mean,
Swanson,
if you give me the best cards,
Swanson, Birch, and maybe Simpson.
Yeah.
Or Emma King, one of the two.
I was thinking King maybe, but I mean,
Simpson's probably might be more valuable at some point, whereas King does play alongside Rennie, so maybe Simpson.
What's Friend been doing? Is Friend been like?
Well, Serene Watson's the main one.
Yeah.
So part of me doesn't want Ella Friend to do as well, because it means Serene Watson won't be going as well. But
I know they've been averaging 39, so scratch that. Yeah. Look, I'll just take a screenshot and I'll just let them pick. Hey.
Yeah. No, sounds good.
Beautiful. Well, that wraps it up. So thank you everyone for joining us. Any final pieces of advice, Bales?
No, not really. There's obviously the socials are on the screen there. Bales DT on both Instagram and Twitter, and then Fantasy Fanatics on YouTube. Then if you haven't signed up to GameDay Squad yet, I'm sure most of you guys have done that already. But if you haven't already and you're new to GameDay Squad, then head over to GameDaySquad.com.au. Free to play, but you can use code BalesDT at sign up and you get yourself some free goodies, some free packs to get yourself started. So if you'd like to do that, then use the code. And good luck this week, and hopefully you get some big scores.
Yeah. Oh, one thing we didn't talk about, the cup. Did you make it through?
I didn't get an email for if I got through or got knocked out. I'm assuming
you got through.
I came for the week, so I'd be a bit stiff if I got knocked out by one of the top 3 there. So
it's starting to get to that point of the comp where it will start to happen like that, though. So
exactly right. And there's been people in the first and second round that will come top 10, but they'll be matched up against the top couple in the week. I think I was up. It's up against like Kiwis or something. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I think I saw you on the round 3 fixtures or the cup third round fixtures. So I think you did make it. I also made it through, thankfully, even after a little bit of a disappointing week in Classic. It was a week where I could have kind of bowed out, but I scraped through and we go again. Yeah, so
exactly.
Again,
you want to make it to at least the last sort of few matchups, because then you get some really good rewards. So that's the whole.
I think this week is another 9-player pack. Then next week you get an all-star card if you get through. So that's where we're starting to hit the big money. Good luck to everyone in the cup. On screen there, GameDay Society, the GDS Society on X. And if you have enjoyed this, please like the video and subscribe if you haven't already, because it does help out a lot. Same with on Bale's side if you haven't done that already. But we'll leave it there. Jump over to the NRL stream if you're planning to, and give Mel some support, eh?
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks, everyone.